Hey, everybody, and welcome to Unveiled. I am Jana Greer, and the Lord put this podcast on my heart to start, to just reach a generation out there, to let them know that they are created for more. And so I want to come on today and just prepare you for Monday. The 18th at 11:30 is when the podcast will officially launch. I am going to be having my sister-in-law, Bethany Greer, from North Carolina. She is a worship leader, and she has a women's ministry as well, and she's going to be joining me, and we are going to be going over stepping out in faith and what that looks like. And she has received a word from the Lord, and we've already talked, and we're just so geared up and ready for everything that's going to take place on Monday at 11:30. But I wanted to come to you today and just share a quick testimony to get you prepared and get you ready for what God is doing in this season. I truly believe that this is our launching season. And I'm not just saying that for Unveiled, I'm saying that for the people of God. I truly believe as we enter in on the Jewish calendar on Saturday into a new year, 5784, that is the year of the open door. And I have seen the goodness of the Lord over the last several weeks, just pouring out and pouring out. And God is truly moving in this time in such an overwhelming way that today I'm almost speechless for what he has done for me and what he's doing, not just for me, but in so many lives around me. And so I wanted to share just a testimony of stepping out in faith and get you ready for what we're going to be talking about on Monday. And so the Lord impressed on my heart yesterday. I was scrolling through Facebook and something popped out. I mean, just like, you ever had those moments where just like popped out of the page at you, and it did that for me. And I was like, okay, hold on, and I had that moment, like, should I go, should I not go? And then I warred with all of my flesh. When I know people, I'm super comfortable around them, but when I don't know people, I get like this sense of like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. And it was something that I even sent to my husband, and I was like, hey, what do you think? And he's like, I think you should go. It's time to get uncomfortable. And when he said that to me, I was like, and this was literally my response, the Lord has been speaking to me about stepping out. And I have a podcast that's launching on Monday with the topic of stepping out in faith and watching what God will do. And I said, so I guess I should just really take my own advice. And so I got myself ready. I mean, it was a whole thing. Like, anxiety was just like trying to stop me from this divine encounter that I had this morning that the Lord led me to. And I didn't even understand it. Okay. This is the point I want to make. I did not understand why I had the urgency to go. I did not understand why I felt drawn. I just knew that it was a feeling I could not shake. I knew that it was something that I needed to do. And I wasn't going for any reason other than to just obey the Lord, just to glean and say, okay, God, whatever you have for me, I'm all ears. I'm here. I'm ready to do what you've called me to do. And it was not in any motive or any intention for me to play a part in that. I literally just needed the Lord. I needed more of his presence. I needed an encounter with him. And so, long story short, I got up this morning, got myself ready, and I just got in the car and I was like, I'm going to go. And I got there, and, my nerves were all in a thing. And I was like, Lord, I'm here for you. But as I stepped on the property of this place this morning, I could feel just the presence of the Lord hit me. And it was like confirmation that I had heard him. And faith over fear stepped out and said, whatever you want, God. And so I want to just share a few points with what the Lord showed me today, and just the overwhelming presence of the Lord that I feel still even back home in my room. And I want to say this, that God desires our obedience more than he desires our sacrifice. If God is calling you to something, I've said this before, but he's equipped you for it. And not only has he equipped you for it, he has the steps ordered. He has the doors opened and ready for you. He has the tools on the inside of you. He has literally given you everything that you need. He's equipped you and he's called you, and he's going to make a way for you. And so instant obedience will teach you more about God than a lifetime of studying the Bible, of having women's meetings, men's meetings, sitting in church. And the reason I say that is because when you step out in obedience, you get firsthand experience of God working in your life. the Bible is what we live by, right? But if I sit in my room and I do nothing but read the Bible, it can only take me so far. But until I act on what God is calling me to, I can never act in obedience, which therefore my faith is never, expanded. And the Lord had been speaking to me for months now to enlarge my tent pegs. And I was like, Lord, I was never good at being the kid who stood in front of the class to speak. And it's just so many stories in the Bible that we read, the accounts of what happened and took place, that God used the ones who never felt enough. And I do believe that it's so he can be enough in us. And so obedience unlocks understanding. And I want to kind of zone in on this, because you don't have to understand why you're doing it. Just like I did not have to understand why I believe the Lord directed my path today the way that he did. I understand now, after it's done and over with, because he just completely wrecked every part of me. I mean, everything that I have had conversations with certain people in my life, and they know it. I mean, this group, lovely group of people that I encountered today, did not know me personally. They don't know me. I really don't believe at all. Maybe just through, scrolling on Facebook, but it was an immediate presence of the Lord that encountered me in such a way that it was like they didn't know me, but they knew me, just like the Lord. And so trusting God completely means having faith that he knows what's best for your life. God knew that I had been crying out to him in my secret place. He knew that I had been writing to him. He knew that I had been having conversations with those that pour into my life that I trust. And he knew what was best for me and how to get me to a place of complete and total freedom. And so I just want to encourage you that as God is calling his bride in this day, in this hour, I truly believe that it is a launching season. I truly believe that God is pouring out. It's like I told my sister-in-law a little bit ago, that I just feel like God is just like flowing this strong river, and we just have to jump into it. Don't miss it. Don't miss what God is doing because of fear of the unknown, or because of anxiety trying to cripple you and say, get back in your comfort zone. See, that's what the enemy wants, is he wants you to be stagnant. He wants you to be idle. He wants you to have the fear of rejection. He wants you to have the anxiety that's like just like a blanket wrapped around you. He wants you bound so you cannot step out in faith and in obedience and get your breakthrough. Because obedience today for me brought breakthrough for my life that I have been crying out for, that nobody knew. I mean, the deepest parts of my life, and so I just want to encourage you that if the Lord is calling you to something, if the Lord is saying, hey, get in your car and drive to this location, if the Lord is saying, I want you to go pray for this person, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, you need to follow that. You don't have to understand it. You don't even have to comprehend it. But if you just step out in faith and watch what God will do with your life, I promise you, it is the most precious, beautiful, humbling thing that I have experienced. I also want to say this, that an act of obedience is worship. That is how we worship the Lord. Worship is not just conformed to a song. It's not just conformed to a Sunday, thing, a ritual, or a Wednesday night. It's not just an instrument. It's not any of that. Worship is our heart. It's how we obey the Lord. It's how we treat other people. It is literally a lifestyle that we live before the Lord. And so I just want to encourage you today to step out in faith and watch what God will do in your life. Don't allow the enemy to run rampant in your mind any longer. Don't allow those dreams to die. Allow God to open up the doors for you, and he's going to do it through your obedience. And so your obedience with you stepping out is going to impact somebody else's life when you don't even know it, when you least expect it. If you step out in faith and you say, God, whatever you want, use me, pour out of me, allow me to be the vessel, allow me to be the hands and the feet and the mouthpiece for your kingdom, and your heart is lined up in that, he is going to use you in such a mighty way. And so I encourage you, step out in faith today. Stop holding back. Stop waiting for the right time. God will work it out on your behalf if you just obey him. And so I just want to encourage you today. I love you, and I'm praying the boldness of the Lord to come over you and upon you. And just know that you are created for so